Violence does not always leave bruises. Sometimes it leaves fear, silence, and loss of dignity. Hello everyone, this is Yashika and welcome to our podcast series, Freedom from Violence, Legal Provisions for the Safety and Security of Women. This is our first episode in which we'll be talking about domestic violence as a form of gender-based violence. Before beginning with the podcast, I would like to ask you a question. What comes to your mind when you hear the term domestic violence? Is it just physical violence? Because that is the biggest misconception about this topic. And this is what we'll be covering in this podcast, that what exactly is domestic violence, what all falls with the definition of domestic violence, what are the legal remedies available to women, and how, when and where can legal help be sought. So, beginning from a constitution, which is the basis of every legislation in this country, it provides us with certain principles like equality, dignity, that there shall be no discrimination on any ground, anywhere in the country. But does that really happen in our society? I don't think so. And I think you all will agree. Discrimination is part of every sphere in our society. And if we begin with our own houses, discrimination is there everywhere. And to overcome this discrimination, the Parliament came up with a legislation which is called the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. So this act clearly stated that what is domestic violence, what are the legal remedies available for women, how women can seek these remedies. So legally speaking, as per the act, domestic violence is anything, any act or omission which endangers the safety of women, the physical health of women, the mental health of women, sexual health, emotional well-being, economic security. So, according to this, not only mental health, not only physical health, but mental health, emotional, sexual, economic security, all this comes under domestic violence. So now you must be wondering what all behavior comes under domestic violence. So, talking about physical safety, physical health, hitting, slapping, pushing, all of this comes under domestic violence. Emotional abuse, verbal abuse, insulting, abusing, making derogatory remarks on character, sexual abuse, forced sexual acts, marital rapes, or economic security, asking the woman to leave her job, asking the woman to not go to her place of work, isolating her from her family, or not giving her enough money to meet the basic standards of life. All this amounts to domestic violence. Any woman who is living in a shared household, which means not just a married woman, any female member, be it a wife, be it a live-in partner, be it a divorced woman, be it a widow, everyone comes under this domain. This act protects all the females that are living in a household from domestic violence. Now, if suppose anyone in your neighborhood is suffering from domestic violence, how can she seek legal support? Because domestic violence is a civil act. So its focus is to protect women rather than to punish the offender. Punishment is there, but the first motive is to protect the women. So an FIR is not necessary. You can go to a police station, you can go to a magistrate, a judicial officer, a protection officer, any NGO, any legal aid cell near you to seek protection. So consider a scenario that woman is not allowed to leave the house, or maybe she is scared, or maybe she is not able to go out to seek help for herself. Then the act also allows any person who sees or who is in the apprehension that domestic violence is happening, a woman is being subject to domestic violence, that person can go to the police officer, judicial officer, protection officer and file a complaint that a woman in my neighborhood or anyone I know is being suffering from domestic violence and that she needs legal help. So it is not necessarily the aggrieved person, that the person on whom the violence is being done has to file a report herself. Any well-wisher on her behalf can also file a report. Now, after filing a report, what can happen? There are various sets of order which a court can pass, which the magistrate can give depending upon the situation. The court can give all sorts of reliefs that can protect a woman in every sphere. First being the monetary relief, in which suppose domestic violence may the woman is not given any economic security, she is not financially independent, so certain monetary relief so that she can meet the basic standards of her lives. Or suppose there's a case in which a child is involved and child's custody is a question of law, child's custody is before question in the court of law, then maintenance for that child shall also be given. Let's say there is a scenario where the woman does not have a house to live for herself and she has been threatened to be kicked out of her matrimonial home. Then the court can also pass a residential order in which the court will order that the woman is given a safe place to live. Either she is allowed to live in her matrimonial home or she is given some place else to live safely without any danger. The court can also pass a protection order in which the court will ensure that the woman is safe at all times, that she is not subject to domestic violence anymore, that she is not threatened in any way, that she is able to live safely and happily. The court can if suppose the woman is suffering from some medical treatment, she's suffering from some disease and she needs extra money for her medical expenses, then the court can also order such medical expenses to be given to the woman so that she can take care of herself. And apart from this, if a woman is of the opinion that such case will bring, such a case can destroy her reputation in the society, bring questions on her character, and something which she does not want to bring up on a large scale, then the proceedings can be held in a way that they're not disclosed. The name of the woman can be hidden, the facts of the case, the location, that all the essential things which can make the woman identifiable will be hidden so that she does not lose any dignity in the society. Apart from this, now you know what exactly is domestic violence, who can file a report, where a report can be filed, what are the remedies a person can seek. Let's say a woman is not able to pay the money for the legal expenses, then can she still seek protection under this act? So the answer is yes. You can go to any legal aid, district legal aid society or maybe national legal aid society, whichever you can reach, and you can seek free legal aid from there. Apart from this is all which falls under the domain of civil domestic violence. Now, if you are thinking that domestic violence sometimes is so severe that you cannot just call it a civil action, you cannot just protect, you also need to punish the offender so that the right example is set for the society and that there is no such repetition of such crimes. So yes, domestic violence can also become a criminal act, a criminal offense, but the nature of the offense has to be more severe, the degree of the offense has to be much higher. We have BNS 2023, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, Section 85 of which states about cruelty, and Section 85 and 86 both, that any woman which is being subject to cruelty by her husband or her in-laws, she can file a criminal case as well. This is a criminal offense as well. So something which differentiates domestic violence from being a civil act to a criminal act is the nature of the offense, the severity, how grave the offense is. So accordingly you can proceed in the court. But the most important thing is that you are giving reliefs, which is there under the Domestic Violence Act. Now you must be thinking that there is only one slap. The husband has slapped her wife. He slapped his wife once. Now, on just a single slap, can she go to the court and file a petition for domestic violence? Or maybe he has abused his wife sexually or emotionally, but just once or twice. Now, do you think for a single act you can go to a court? So the answer is yes. For domestic violence, there should not be any repeated acts. A single act is enough to constitute the offense of domestic violence, and you can go to the court and file cases. So with this, I hope most of your questions regarding the Domestic Violence Act are clear. I tried to keep myself as brief as possible, as I tried to stick to the points, all which is essential for you to know the basics. Now, there are some common questions which people generally ask, like, is domestic violence act only applicable to women? Yes, because though gender-based discrimination can be for men as well, but mostly considering the scenario of our society, mostly these acts are conducted against women. So the act is applicable specifically to women. For men, there are other legislations, like there are articles in the constitution which talk about equality, but there is no specific legislation. Then the question comes, can live-in partner fall under this category? The answer is a big yes. The Honorable Supreme Court in his judgment has said that live-in partners which resemble marriage can also fall under the ambit of Domestic Violence Act. Then comes the question, without an FIR, can you seek help from the authorities in a domestic violence case? The answer is again yes, because it is a civil act and a criminal act both. So it's a civil act, you don't need to file a FIR at first. You can simply reach to a judicial officer, a police officer, and file your complaint. The third question comes that then the question comes, can relative of husband can also be asked to be accused in a criminal case? Actually not asked, but made accused in the criminal case. So the answer is yes. The relatives of husband, in-laws, everyone can be held liable in a domestic violence case. The next question is, can a woman be kicked out of a matrimonial home? The answer is no. The Domestic Violence Act can make sure that the court passes a residential order, and you are provided the residence, you are provided an order which makes it easier for you to live in your matrimonial home, and your in-laws, your husband, your family cannot force you to move out of the house. The next question is, can a woman directly approach the magistrate or a domestic officer? The answer is yes. The woman can directly approach the magistrate or protection officer even when she has not filed an FIR. Or the next question is, when can a woman seek immediate help in cases of domestic violence? The domestic violence case, women can seek help at any time, be it the very beginning stage or be it when the domestic violence has happened, say days earlier or hours before. That does not matter. Then the question comes, this act applies to civil cases or criminal cases? The answer is both. It applies to both the cases. Then coming about to our next question, is free legal aid available to women facing domestic violence? Yes, free legal aid is available to women facing domestic violence, and actually free legal aid is available to every citizen in our society. The next question is, can a woman seek financial support under the Domestic Violence Act? Yes, the court can grant monetary relief like maintenance, medical expenses, loss of income, child-related expenses, so that the woman is financially stable. Now, I hope all your questions are cleared and you have a better understanding about the Act. And to conclude, I would just say that domestic violence is not just a private family issue. It is an issue of society at large. In a serious situation where there is a violation of fundamental rights, including the right to life, the right to dignity, which is there in the Article 21 of Constitution, our Parliament, our government has passed an Act, which is the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, and you all should know about it. And whenever you see a case of domestic violence, you should know that you have the knowledge of law. Help exists. You just have to be brave enough to take that help. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll meet you in our next episode where we'll be talking about health and hygiene and the safeguards relating to women. Thank you so much.